So today I wanted to do a little bit of a different kind of video. I've lived in the United States my entire life, different parts of the country too within the United States, and I've also traveled a fair amount across the country. And in that time, I've come across a lot of different license plates, a lot of cool looking license plates. It's something I'm interested in because I like art and design and things like that. So I find it interesting, especially because a license plate is the way for a state to showcase what they're known for or to tell something, just tell a story, send a message, And so it's a free advertisement basically for that state when cars travel outside of their home state. And so I think they're kind of important. But I've traveled across the country. Like I said, I've seen license plates from most of the United States, from most of the Canadian provinces and territories as well, and even license plates from Europe. But for the purposes of this video, I want to focus on American license plates, United States license plates, and license plates from the Canadian provinces and territories. So I'm going to review every single one. It's going to be every single current, as of 2023, standard issue license plate from all of the US states and Canadian provinces and territories. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to compile my favorite and least favorite license plates. Keep in mind, every state and province produces a number of specialty license plates, some of which are really beautiful. And I've put a few of them right here on this first slide. And you can see they're pretty cool. Very great artwork. But if I went through all the specialty license plates, this video would be 200 hours long at the very least. So I'm going to be focusing on, like I said, the standard issue license plates, and that's going to help keep the review consistent between the states as well. It's often the plate that you would be issued free of extra charge, so it's a good way to get an idea of the sense of what each state is trying to showcase for the rest of the country, because this is their standard issue license plate. So let's get to it without further ado. Let's start with the United States. We're going to go through alphabetical order. All right, here we go with Alabama. Honestly, it doesn't make too much sense to me because the Gulf Shores is like such a minuscule part of Alabama's heritage and geography that it doesn't make too much sense. But at the same time, I sort of understand why they would put an ocean view and a beach on their license plate. They want to kind of bring some awe or maybe shock to people that have never been to Alabama. Alabama is looked down upon by maybe the East and West Coast. And so they want to say, hey, look at us. We're not just dumb. We have and I'm not saying Alabama's dumb. I'm just saying, there's a stereotype. But they want to say, hey, we have a beautiful coastline as well. And so I honestly get it. My only gripe with it, and I do think overall it's well designed. I like the style. My only gripe with this is that it replaced their previous license plate, which I thought was so much more beautiful. Alabama, especially the northern part of the state, is very hilly, pastoral. It's the southern end of the Appalachian Mountains. And so I really liked this plate, and I really liked the colors and the font. So I miss it. But overall, I think Alabama did a pretty good job. Next, let's move to Alaska, the last frontier. As you know, it's a big state, and it's got a lot to show for it. I mean, there's such a variety of landscapes. There's a few different standard issue plates that Alaska issues, and here's the first one. It's yellow and blue. It's kind of retro looking, I guess. It's got the flag, and it's not too bad. It's simple, it's clean, you can read it. It's okay. But I have to say this next one is a lot better. This is one of my favorite license plates, and you'll see it across the continental US from time to time, but it's so well designed. You just got a big brown bear in the middle that separates the letters from the numbers, and you've got Alaska, the name of the state, at the top in a very readable font, and then the background is not too busy, and for that, I really like it. But here's the next standard issue plate. This one is also very beautiful. It might be a little complicated with a bit of the design behind the letters, but overall, I like that it's generally pretty simple colors, simple lines, simple fills. And again, the font at the top, very readable, decent contrast. I think it's pretty good. I don't know if they really needed to say Alaska State Council on the arts at the bottom. It's a little extra in my opinion. Overall, Alaska does a great job, especially because they don't have a huge population, but they do a good job. They are a very unique state. Next, we have Arizona. And as some of you might know, I currently live in Arizona right now, and so I see these license plates all the time. And I'm a little disappointed. I feel like Arizona could do so much better. I'm not a fan of the font at the top. First of all, it's poor contrast. You have turquoise on top of turquoise with just the white outline on the letters. It's not very readable. It feels smushed and wide at the same time. The Grand Canyon State is fine. I'm glad that they could include the nickname without showing the Grand Canyon itself, because that's what most people know of Arizona. The idea of the saguaro cactus was a good idea. I don't like the execution, though. I don't like the colors. I feel like they could have done a lot better. I don't like the way they styled the cactus, and I'm not a big fan of the color combination in general. So I have to say, with Arizona, I'm a little disappointed. Next, we have Arkansas. I think Arkansas is the only state in the country that has an active diamond mine. So they want to showcase their diamonds. That makes sense. That's okay. They put a big diamond in the middle, big fat font on top, Arkansas, the natural state. Overall, it's a good design. You have the name of the state on top, you have the nickname at the bottom, and you have a symbol in the middle. Very basic, simple. The symbol separating the letters and the numbers. I think it's okay overall. Then we have California. I would automatically give California 10 more points if they did not include this ugly looking URL or a website at the bottom. Totally unnecessary. It's not helping anybody. It would have been fine without that. I like the font of California. It's very recognizable. I like the red, white, and blue. But I don't like the website, and you'll kind of get the idea as I go through all these license plates. I really don't like how websites are included on a lot of them. It's very useless in my opinion. Nobody's looking at a license plate and then going to a website as a result of it. So why not just leave a good impression rather than some website that was probably added when the internet first started? Overall, California is fine. They could have went more complicated. There's lots of scenery in California, but I like the simple look. Then we have Colorado. Colorado, you're going to find out later, but this is one of my favorites. I think it's a beautiful design. An amazing font at the bottom. Great simple colors, just green and white. Snowy, snow-capped peaks. And it's perfectly... It perfectly encapsulates Colorado. Big, high, rocky mountains. They did a really good job with this. I hope they don't change it. And then we have Connecticut, the Constitution state for most people that don't know that. It's readable, it's clean, I'm not angry at it, it's okay. They probably could have done more, but at least it's a nice readable font, and they have a little shape of the state in the corner. I like that. They could have done a lot more, but overall it's just okay. And then we have Delaware. I guess this was the best picture I could find. Again, very simple. They have the nickname, the first state. It is the first state admitted to the Union. And then they have the name of the state at the bottom. But there's nothing else to it. But it's okay. It's okay. I will accept it just because it's simple and readable, and the color combination is not bad. So then we have Florida, which, for being one of the most populated states in the country, number 3 at this point, I feel like they could have put some more thought into it and made it better. It's a little too much. The oranges and the flowers in the middle are a little too complicated, I think. It's very recognizable, though, when you're on the roads. You know when you see a Florida plate. So in that sense, it's good. And obviously, Florida does grow a lot of oranges. I don't like that they included the website at the top, myflorida.com. It sounds a little pathetic. The Sunshine State at the bottom, that's fine. Put the nickname there. But overall, I feel like they could have done better. It's okay, but not my favorite by any means. Georgia is just to the north of Florida, and Georgia does a little better, I think. They have a couple of standard issue plates. Here's the first one. We got Georgia in very nice, appropriate font, I think, for the state. And then we have the peach state because it's the peach state. And there's peaches on the bottom left and the bottom right. There's a pastoral landscape. They had to include the counties on the license plate, I guess. That's typical of some states. So they have Fulton County right there at the bottom. But it's okay. It's definitely readable. It's a pretty color combination, and I think it's okay. Here's the other standard issue plate. I think this looks pretty classic. It's got the peach in the middle as the symbol in the background. That's it. And it's black and white. Other than that, it's a very good color combination, very readable. I like it, honestly. So this one is funny whenever you see it in the continental US, because that means, I guess, somebody shipped their car from the Hawaiian Islands. But it's a fun plate. It's just a rainbow. Not with all the colors, though. Just red, yellow, and blue. I guess they didn't have enough ink. But they've got Hawaii Aloha State. That's their nickname. I would appreciate a different font, but overall it's okay. Simple design. They do a decent job. It's readable. Here's a really nice one. I like the gradient, the color combination, red, white, and blue. It's Scenic Idaho. I like how Idaho is front and center on top, big readable font. The Scenic is a different font. I like that, so it doesn't distract too much. And then Famous Potatoes at the bottom. It gives you a bit of a taste of, or a flavor of what they're known for. They're definitely known for potatoes, but they don't go overboard. They don't then put a bunch of potatoes on the license plate. For example, like Georgia puts a bunch of peaches or whatever. They have a very scenic mountainous landscape. They want people to know that they're a beautiful state, and Idaho is a beautiful state. So I think it's good that they chose this mountain landscape. It's a beautiful license plate. Then we have Illinois, or as some people call it, Illinois. This one is interesting. I'm not a fan of the font at all, especially the Illinois. It's squashed. It looks squashed, like some other states do. But in general, it's a nice silhouette of the state. They have the Sears Tower or the Willis Tower there in the background. It's like the Chicago skyline. They have a windmill in the middle, sort of representative of their rural geography, which is most of the state is corn and soybeans. Then they have the Capitol toward the right. I'm assuming that's the Capitol. And then it is the land of Lincoln, but they don't go overboard with a picture of Lincoln. They kind of do he's like kind of peering over the edge. He's just, it's just half his face. And I kind of like that. That's a cool choice. Overall, with the red lettering and the blue, pale blue and white background, it's readable. It's a good plate, but not my favorite. I wish they chose a different font for Illinois. Indiana got a new plate sort of recently. At least this became their standard issue plate recently. And I don't think anybody will look at this picture and think, wow, that screams Indiana to me. Because to me, it does not at all. I don't think of covered bridges when I think of Indiana. Why not put the Indiana dunes of Lake Michigan on the license plate? That would be cool and eye-catching. Nobody thinks of beautiful beaches when they think of Indiana. But that's what Indiana has. Beautiful, clear water beaches. It's a beautiful state in some parts. In other parts, it's very run down. Actually, very near the Indiana dunes, it's pretty terrible, namely Gary. But anyways, I mean, they could have put maybe some music insignia, something. I mean, Michael Jackson's from Gary, right? Anyways, it's readable, but the covered bridge is an odd choice. It makes me think of Vermont or something. Iowa also got a new plate recently, at least a new standard issue plate, and it's very readable, a good combination. They've got grass at the bottom, white in the middle, and then they've got some silhouettes of the skyline. I'm guessing that's Des Moines on the top left, and then a barn, a silo, a windmill, the top right. Lots of windmills and barns and silos in Iowa, so that's very fitting. I think they did pretty good. I like the font enough. I think the white strip in the middle is a little glaringly empty, but overall, it's okay. This one was not a good one. Kansas just had this license plate. It might still be in... No, this is actually still... Yeah, this is still their current standard issue plate. Not a good idea to put the state seal in the background. Nobody can read it, understand it, know what it means. It really serves a useless purpose. There's only one state I think, other than Kansas, that included the state seal on their license plate, and that one is one of my least favorites. But in general, this is not a good representation of Kansas. Why not put something else other than the seal? Because literally anything else would be better. This is what the Kansas license plate is going to be very soon. I forget exactly when, maybe early next year, or something like that. And it's an improvement over the last one, but it's also not that good looking. It makes me think of like a taxi. It makes me think of New York's old license plate. A lot of people still drive around with a New York plate that looks like this, but it's just yellow and black, and it says "to the stars" at the bottom. I don't really know what that means, and I don't know what that has to do with Kansas specifically. Maybe it's their motto that I don't know of, but anyways, I think Kansas could have done better. There's a lot more beautiful aspects to Kansas than what we're looking at right here. Then we have Kentucky. Kentucky is a beautiful state, and they decided to go with a blue to white gradient. It says the bluegrass state at the top. That's appropriate, but it's very small text right above the state. The word Kentucky itself is pretty nice. Like I said, well placed and easy to read. Nice contrast with the color, but they put. I'm just realizing now what this personalized plate says. Anyways, the outline of the state is on the left there. It's kind of an odd placement, but so in that sense, it feels asymmetrical. It's not my favorite. It's readable, but I think Kentucky could have done better. Louisiana, I think, did a good job. They have a cool font on top. They have a sportsman's paradise at the bottom left, and that's good advertisement. They have a pelican in the middle. It's well placed and easy to see. So I think Louisiana did a good job. Louisiana is a sportsman's paradise. There's lots of wildlife, woods, and waters. So pretty good for Louisiana. I think they could have done better, but it's okay. I don't really know if I like how faded the pelican is, but we'll move on. Maine has this license plate right now, or maybe just did, but is moving to a new one pretty soon. At least this is the standard issue plate that has been in effect for quite some time. Vacation Land is a good name for Maine, and they put that at the bottom. They got nice pine trees. They have a chickadee on a pine tree on the left. I think it looks fine. I think it looks good. I think they have a nice font, nice contrast at the top with the black letters over the white. Overall, I think it's a well-designed plate. But this is what Maine is going to. It's actually a throwback to, I think, their first or one of their first license plates. So it is supposed to be sort of retro. I think it's supposed to harken back to maybe one of Maine's flags once a long time ago. I'm not sure. But in any case, this is like a 100-year-old design. So it's very simple and easy to read, so I'll give it that, but it's not too crazy. Here we have Maryland. I like the Maryland flag, actually. It's very royal looking, but the way they implemented it on this license plate is not really working for me. I don't really appreciate how it's rippled like that. I do think they could have done better if they did something else with the flag, because the flag, like I said, is eye-catching, but I don't really like how they executed it. And then the font at the top is not a good font, in my opinion. Here we have Massachusetts. I like the red, white, and blue. It's very easy to read, bright colors, Massachusetts at the top, and then you have the nickname at the bottom. Very classic, standard. I think it's a good license plate. I don't know why it's the spirit of America, but that's what they decided to put on there. Then we have Pierre, Michigan. Michigan has a this is one of Michigan's standard issue plates. They have a few, so this is the first one. This one is not great. It's just blue on white, and I don't like the text on the top. It's not readable. The M doesn't make sense to me. It's just not good text. They would have been better off if they just wrote Michigan all in one text and then pure in a different font or something, but making the M a different font just makes it look weird. So Michigan's first standard issue plate is not my favorite. Here's a much better one. The Mackinac Bridge, at least this one's pretty. The letters are well placed. The numbers are well placed. Again, the pure Michigan text on the top is not my favorite, but at least they made the M a different color, so it's not as confusing. But at the same time, it still is confusing because why is the M different? We don't know. This one is really nice, though. I like the color combination. Blue, like navy blue in the background with bright yellow in for the text. It feels very Michigan to me. And I like the font of the name of the state on top, and then the nickname at the bottom, Water, Winter, Wonderland. 3 W's. Makes me think of West Virginia's plate, but we'll get to that soon. But I think it's good. It's definitely accurate. Michigan gets winter and has lots of water. Here we go with Minnesota, and my only complaint about this plate is that they put the website on the license plate. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of the website on the license plate, but if you're gonna put a website on a license plate, this is the way to do it. Because when you're looking at this plate from a distance, you don't see exploreminnesota.com. You just see Minnesota and then 10,000 lakes maybe. Because the text for Minnesota is so much bigger than the explore and the .com. It stands out. So in that sense, it's good. I really like the font of the letters. I really like how there's the outline, the shape of the state in the middle. I really like the colors. I think it's a simple color combination. It's just shades of blue, a little bit of a green. It's a very scenic landscape, very representative of Minnesota. Goes well with the nickname 10,000 Lakes, although there's more than 12,000 lakes greater than 10 acres in size in Minnesota. Minnesotans are modest. So there's a couple canoeing. I think it's a good license plate. Definitely aesthetic. Here's one of the worst ones. And I hate to put Mississippi in the bottom because it's always at the bottom, but they could have done better. They're asking for it here. Like I said, with Kansas, the state seal should not be on the license plate in the background. Nobody can see it, especially from a distance. Nobody can understand it. Nobody can read it. It's a lazy design. It's like when states put the state seal in front of a solid fit background fill on their flag. It's not creative. It's pretty ugly. So here's Mississippi. The font on top can work. The S's they're all like wrapped around each other, arms linked or hugging or something. But I don't like the color background of this license plate, and they could have done a lot better. Why not put like a saxophone or something? I mean, our nation's musical heritage basically comes from Mississippi. There's also lots of, scenery like bayous and alligators and things. They could have literally done anything other than this state seal. This state seal could be applied to any state in this country. Here we have Missouri. I like the red, white, and blue. It's a little busy with it. Oh, like, look at that. They put the state seal in the background here, but at least it's very faded and you can't really see it. So it's like it doesn't exist. But they could have done better. Apparently, the wavy lines at the top and bottom are supposed to represent the great rivers of our country. The Missouri River and the Mississippi River, they both go through or pass Missouri. So, yeah, it's okay. It's a clean design. It's recognizable to me. But I think they could do without the state seal in the background. This one's cool because it's just 2 colors. It's very simple. It's got the big outline of the state of Montana and the nickname at the top, the Treasure State. So good job. And they also have the cattle skull there. Inside, I think it's a good license plate. Nebraska actually just updated their plate. Believe it or not, this is actually an improvement over their most previous plate. And it's still kind of weird. At least the font is good. I like the colors enough. It doesn't really stand out, but and most people probably won't understand what this tile mural depiction has to do with the state of Nebraska. And I don't really know either specifically. I just know that it's on the floor of their capital, I think. But in general, it's a pretty strong image, but I think Nebraska could have done better. Not in this case, though. This one is actually depicted well. It may be even better than the state, since most of the state is pretty barren. Although beautiful, there's lots of desert and mountains. Nevada did a good job. I like the bright colors. I don't know why home means Nevada at the bottom there, but it's okay. Why not just do the nickname? Is it the Silver State? Maybe. I think so. Anyways, the font at the top is good. It's kind of like an Old West style font or something. It's thick, it's black, it's nice. And then they got the state outline in the middle. And then a very different artistic style to depict the mountains and the desert. So, overall, I like this plate. It's good color, good design, you know. New Hampshire. New Hampshire could be so much better. The only reason why I'm going to give it solid marks is because they have an amazing state motto, which is live free or die. I really like that motto. I don't know why they're still hung up on the old man on the mountain. The old man on the mountain doesn't exist anymore. It collapsed, I think, like 20 years ago. But they still want to remember him. So they have that in the background. I'm not a big fan of the font at the bottom, New Hampshire. But overall, it's okay, but definitely on the lower tier of all the state license plates. New Jersey, good font on top, interesting font at the bottom. It's okay. The combination might be weird, but it's okay. Simple. They got the outline of the state in the middle, and then they got a pretty disgusting pea color in the background. It would be a lot better if they chose a different color for the background, but other than that, at least it's readable. It could just be easily a lot better if they changed the background color. Speaking of amazing background colors, this is one of the best license plates in the world. It's one of New Mexico's standard issue plates. It says, in very easy to read font, New Mexico, USA. At the top, it says Land of Enchantment, which is their nickname. It's an amazing nickname. And then in the middle, I think it's the Zuni sun sign. It's very, very characteristic of New Mexico. It's on their state flag. They put it in the middle. It's an amazing symbol for the state. And then overall, I love the turquoise background. New Mexico is known for turquoise, just like nearby in Arizona. So they did a really good job with this design. I really like it. And the yellow on top makes it pop. Here's another one of New Mexico's standard issue plates. Not as good as the first one, but still cool. They've got the same sun sign in the middle. They've got like a yucca at the bottom left. They've got some cool patterns on the top. I think I could do without the patterns on the top. And then at the bottom it says New Mexico, USA, Land of Enchantment. It looks like a little bit of a dated font though, so they could improve this pretty easily. I'm not sure if I like the bright yellow background, but at least red and yellow goes well together. This one is better than the last one. This is the last of New Mexico's standard issue plates. It's the chili capital of the world. This is another cool thing to advertise because I doubt most people know this, but New Mexico is known for their chilies, green and red chili. And then again, it says New Mexico, USA, Land of Enchantment, and the black background with the yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, that works very well. It's a good design for sure. As I alluded to earlier, New York scrapped its very orangey yellow mac and cheese orange license plate design, the one that made me think of taxis, which I guess is fitting for New York, but they scrapped that recently for this new one. It's clean. It says Excelsior at the bottom. I think that means something in Latin or something, but it says New York at the top in readable font. They've got the state in the middle outlined. I like that. Then they've got a cool panorama of all the different sites in the state. So you got Niagara Falls there on the left. You've got the Adirondacks or some mountains in the middle. You've got the Statue of Liberty. You've got the city of New York, at least the island of Manhattan. And you've got a lighthouse, which I'm assuming is an allusion to their Great Lakes shoreline, of which they have a lot of. So I think that's fitting. Or maybe it's Long Island. I don't know. But in general, it's a solid design. Pretty bland color choice, but at least it's only 3 colors. That's a good choice. North Carolina is very recognizable, but at the same time hard to read. I don't know why they made the letters slightly transparent. I don't think they needed to do that. But in general, it's a good message. First in flight, they want people to know that, even though Ohio might be first in flight because the Wright brothers are from Ohio. But at least the first real plane, was flown in North Carolina, so it makes sense. But overall, it's okay. I wish they made the letters opaque though, but it's very recognizable, so I like it. Here's a beautiful one, legendary North Dakota. Big letters, North Dakota, very easy to read. Over a beautiful watercolor sunset with a big buffalo, a bison in the corner looking at you. I think it's a good design. It's saturated and it's good. They also have the nickname in the bottom left. It's the Peace Garden State because they have the International Peace Garden on their northern border. Here's Ohio's current or maybe most recent plate. I'm not sure if they've moved yet to their next plate, but it's interesting. It's very recognizable. It's red, white, and blue, which I like. I like the letters on the top, but there are so many words and phrases in the background here. Nobody's reading this if you're driving. But, I mean, if you were trying to read them, you might get into an accident. It is interesting, though, to read through it when you're parked, I guess, or when you're reading a stopped car's license plate, because it tells you a lot about the state. It says, America's heartland, the Buckeye State, birthplace of aviation, as I mentioned earlier, red carnation, lighthouse, all sorts of symbols, walleye, white trillium, cardinal, steel, rock and roll, because the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's in Cleveland. They've got different presidents, I guess, from Ohio as well. Anyways, I think they could have done better. This is their new one. I guess it's an improvement. There's a lot going on. It's a lot of colors. It's a lot of lines. A little too much maybe. There's like actually a dog and a kid on a swing on the right side of it. They still got the birthplace of aviation on top. They've got the plane on top. So there'll probably be a feud with North Carolina at some point. The planes look very similar. But they've got hills, they've got a setting sun, they've got the cities in the skyline, they've got rolling fields of wheat, and there's a lot going on. So I don't think it'll be easy to read once you put letters and numbers on it. I'm also not a fan of the font of Ohio in the top in the state. That's the same font they use on their state welcome signs, and it looks very weird. It looks like a child from a horror movie wrote it or something. It's very unsettling, but we'll leave it at that. Oklahoma. I don't think most people realize it's a bird flying in the background, the white silhouette, but it's okay. I like the state outline in the middle. I don't really like the website at the bottom, but whatever. It says Explore Oklahoma on top. It's generally pretty readable, but I think they could have done better. I think I like one of Oklahoma's older license plates. It might say Native America or something like that. It tells you more about the state, because Oklahoma was Indian territory and there's still lots of tribes that live there. So something other than this sparrow, or what even is that? A something tail or a magpie. No idea, but it should be easier to figure out what is depicted on a license plate. Most people will just see lines and shapes and colors. They won't actually see this bird. Oregon has a good plate. It really does. I think the colors could be a little more... They could be adjusted to make it look more pleasing to me at least, but overall they did a good job. They've just got the name of the state on top. Cool font. They've got mountains in the background. They've got one big evergreen tree in the middle, very characteristic of Oregon, and it's well placed, so I think Oregon is a good plate. Here is Pennsylvania. Simple, easy to read, just 3 colors, or 4 maybe if you count black as a color. Is white a color though? I don't know. There's really only 2 colors in addition to white and black, but it's okay. They've got the Keystone in the middle as it's a reference to Pennsylvania's nickname, the Keystone State. But it's nothing special. It doesn't tell you much about the state. The websites there at the bottom, which I'm not a fan of, but fun fact, and I have to hand it to Pennsylvania. Actually, I can't hand it to Pennsylvania. I have to blame them for all the websites and all the other plates, because Pennsylvania was the first state to put their website, their tourism website, on their license plate. I guess to put any website on their license plate. So I have to blame Pennsylvania for starting a bad trend. Rhode Island kind of adjusted their license plate recently. This is what it looks like now. It's the ocean state. It's got an anchor at the top left. The waves look kind of weird, but it's okay. And it's muted colors, but it's all right. I like the font at least enough. Here's a good one though. South Carolina, just one color, a couple colors. It's their flag, the palmetto tree, and the whatever it is, some sort of palm tree with the crescent moon. It's a very recognizable symbol. And then they have some sort of slogan on top: "While I breathe, I hope." And I don't know what it specifically has to do with South Carolina, but it's at least a very romantic sounding slogan, and it's in a romantic typography. So in general, I like this plate. It's well designed with the symbol in the middle. Easy to read too. South Dakota has gone through many variations of Mount Rushmore, and unfortunately they have to, because it's written into state law that all of their license plates, at least in their standard issue license plate, they have to depict Mount Rushmore somewhere in it, which is a shame because it limits it limits their possibilities, sort of. I mean, they can still be more creative. This is basically just a photograph of Mount Rushmore, which I don't know. I'm not a big fan of. I think they could do a lot better, especially if they didn't have to use Mount Rushmore in the background. The font, though, at the top I really like. And Great Faces, Great Places. It's a good enough nickname, but they could have put something way cooler on this plate. They've got amazing scenery. They've got the Badlands, the Black Hills. They've got big animals. They've got buffalo, antelope, everything. So why not do something? Why not pass a state law so they don't have to show Mount Rushmore? Because, I don't know. Do we really need to remind people that Mount Rushmore is in South Dakota? Maybe. Tennessee's got a good one, though. They've switched it up. I do like it when states put a dark background on their plate with light text. In this case, they did a good job. They have the flag in the middle, the 3 stars there. It's red, white, and blue, and I appreciate that. And they've got the nickname at the top left, and they've got an outline of the state in the top middle with the name of the state inside. So I like it. Very easy to read, recognizable colors. It's a good plate. This was their old one, though, and I also like this. It's reminiscent sort of Alabama's older plate, but it is the Appalachian Mountains, kind of like the Smoky Mountains. Nice font at the top. I like the shape of the state in the middle, and it's a good scene, good landscape. Texas is boring. It's readable, but it's boring. Lots of people drive around with this plate, though, because Texas is the second largest state in the country by population. Utah has a few different plates, and they all look good to me. This one's simple, easy to read, red, white, and blue, very solid. Good font, too. I actually like this font. It's like a classic font. Here's another good one. Cool font at the top, and cool nickname, Life Elevated. It's on their state welcome signs as well, and they've got a very cool phrase at the bottom: greatest snow on earth. It's a good advertisement. It tells you about Utah. There's great snow because it's very dry snow. It's fluffy and powdery, and there's good skiing. But this is my favorite one. The same beautiful font on top and a beautiful color combination and design. It's Delicate Arch, a natural arch in Utah's Arches National Park. And then they have the amazing little slogan there at the bottom, Life Elevated. This one is really good looking. And this is not good looking. This is Vermont. This looks like 1980 Frozen in Time or something. Like, it looks like they haven't changed this in decades, and it's not a good design. I don't like how it's kind of segmented like this with the white box around the letters and the numbers. I don't know. I don't like the tree in the top left. The color is okay, but they could do a lot better. Vermont is a beautiful state. They should show it. This one's just weird. There's so many different fonts. There's so many different. They say Virginia 3 times. They have their slogan, which I never understood, but it's Virginia is for lovers. They've got a copyright symbol on it too, which is amazing. Makes it ugly, even more ugly. And they've got Virginia.org at the bottom. Virginia could do so much better. I mean, Virginia is like one of the oldest states. It's got a history to tell. It's got cool scenery. It's got a lot. So it's got a lot of people and money. So why not make it better? I don't know. Washington is pretty good. Washington State. It's Mount Rainier in the background. It's good colors, basically red, white, and blue. I think the font could be better. I wish they used a little bit of a different font, but overall, it's very simple and nice. Washington, Evergreen State, and then a symbol in the background. You'll see Mount Rainier wherever you go if you're in the most populated part of the state. And then West Virginia, Wild, Wonderful. It's a good color combo. It's a nice font. It's easy to read, but I do think they could have done a little more. West Virginia is a beautiful state. It is a poor state, but it's a beautiful state, and I think they could have done a little bit more. But overall, it's pretty good. Here's Wisconsin. Wisconsin has kept the same standard plate for quite some time at this point, just like many other states, but it's not my favorite at all. I grew up looking at a lot of Wisconsin license plates, and it left me confused because I always thought that little thing, that little orange-red Pac-Man looking thing next to Wisconsin, I always thought that was a wheel of cheese. And I just assumed because there's so much cheese from Wisconsin and it says America's Dairyland at the bottom, I thought they were just matching the theme. But no, it's actually the setting sun over a lake with the silhouette of a sailboat on it. That's wild. I don't know how they thought that would work or people would understand what that is, but I'm sorry, Wisconsin could do a lot better. They have other specialty plates that are really cool, but not cool compared to a lot of other state specialties plates. In general, Wisconsin is lacking, especially when you compare it to Michigan and Minnesota. It's unfortunate. Wisconsin has more going for it. I could do a lot better. I don't even like the font. America's Dairyland, the letters are far apart. It's weird. So I think Wisconsin could do better. And here's Wyoming. Definitely unique. They got a photograph of a beautiful mountain landscape in the background. It's a little complicated for my liking, but it's okay. And they've got a silhouette of a cowboy or somebody in a rodeo or something. You know, very symbolic of Wyoming. So overall, it's not bad. But that brings us to the end of the United States of America. Now let's go through Canada. There's less license plates from Canada, so hang in there. Alberta. Alberta is wild rose country, apparently, and I like it. I like the font of Alberta. I'm not sure why there's that inverted thing on the tail of the A with the blue square, but overall I like it. Red, white, and blue, simple, easy to read. Then we've got beautiful British Columbia. This license plate is not very beautiful, though. There's a flag, I'm guessing the provincial flag in the middle. I'm not a big fan of the font on top. It's a little thin for me. I wish they did something else because British Columbia is beautiful. They have a lot going for them, so they should do something a little more. Here's a great one, though. I like Manitoba. I like the font of Manitoba. I like how the font of the word friendly is a little different and cursive. It reminds me of scenic Idaho, but it's friendly Manitoba. And then they put a little red Canadian maple leaf on the I. It's a very minor detail. I think it works, though. They have a buffalo in the top right. I'm not sure if that was necessary, but yes, there are bison in Manitoba. But overall, I like the colors of the text generally, and I like the background. It does feel retro. It does feel like the 1970s or something to me, but it's not bad. I like this forest and lake scene. I do think they could have used fewer colors, though. If they maybe used the same color for Manitoba as maybe the letters and numbers on the plate, that might have worked better. But overall, I like it. And they do have a reference to their agricultural region. They're one of the prairie provinces. They have a big bread basket, and so they have wheat or some sort of grain there in the most immediate foreground. This one is terrible. It reminds me of like a logo of a bank from like 2005 that somebody made on like probably a free software, maybe even like web-based software. It just looks bad. I don't even know what that is in the middle between the new and the nouveau. I guess they really wanted to do French and English, so they did that, but I don't know what that insignia is. I don't like this at all. It's really quite ugly, and the text is really small too. Newfoundland and Labrador, they got a new plate, but this is also wild. Come home in all caps, and then they have a year there at the bottom. This doesn't make sense to me at all. Come home? Like they're trying to tell other people on the road to come home to Newfoundland? Weird. But the whale is cool, I guess, because it's one of the maritime provinces. It makes sense, the Atlantic provinces there. Again, another one of the Canadian Maritimes, Nova Scotia, and it's just ugly. The weird font on the top and the bottom, and then they've got this schooner or some sort of sailing ship. It's too many lines. It's too complicated. They could have done better. Nova Scotia is a beautiful place, so I think they could have done better. Canada's Ocean Playground. It's a nice nickname. They should have presented it a little differently, though. This one is okay. Ontario. I've seen plenty of these around. Ontario, Canada, yours to discover. It's kind of a boring slogan there at the bottom, but it's whatever. It's something. And then they have the crown, the royal crown in the middle there, because Canada, of course, is still royal territory. But overall, it's simple, just one color. I'm okay with it. Prince Edward Island. This is a relatively new one. This as far as the Atlantic provinces go, it's one of the better ones. At least it's not as ugly as the other ones. It's cool. It definitely looks European to me, which is probably the vibe there anyways. It looks like a seal of some sort in the middle. And they've got Canada at the bottom. That's good to let people know that it's Canada. Because if you're driving from Prince Edward Island into the United States, a lot of people probably don't even know that Prince Edward Island exists. So I think they did good. It almost feels Irish or something to me with the green colors on this license plate. But overall, I like it. Quebec. Again, they've got some sort of royal, probably, I think it's a French insignia. Yeah, it's definitely a French insignia there on the left of the word Quebec. And then at the bottom, they have a phrase in French, which is very characteristic. So I think they did a good job because Quebec is French dominated for sure. Saskatchewan, one of the prairie provinces, they've got wheat there in the middle. Land of Living Skies. I think it's a nice nickname, I think. I just like the two L's. I like the alliteration. And the S harkens back to the S in Saskatchewan. But anyways, it's simple. I wish the colors were a little deeper or something so there would be better contrast. But overall, it's fine. They've got a symbol in the middle. I don't know if I like the design of the wheat itself, but it's okay. I think they could definitely improve it though. But this is an amazing one. And it's amazing because it's the only license plate that comes in a shape other than rectangle. It's in the shape of a polar bear, and it's the Northwest Territories of Canada. That's so cool. It just says Spectacular Northwest Territories, a single font there for both of those lines. Great colors, and they've got cool scenery there at the bottom. Silhouette of another polar bear and some trees. This is really cool. The creative for sure. It's rectangle, but it's still beautiful. I'm not mad at how complicated it is. They've even got two different languages on here. It's Nunavut. It's a territory in northern Canada near the Arctic, or in the Arctic. And I like the depiction of the northern lights and the way the polar bear looks. It's kind of inspiring. So, and they've got one of those traditional rock piles there on the bottom right. You probably remember that from the Vancouver Winter Olympics. They showed that there a lot. This one is, can you guess what I'm going to say? It's terrible. Again, this looks like it was made by, it looks like it's from a children's book in 1995 or something like that. The art on the left side is absolutely terrible. I think it's somebody panning for gold, and they have like a shovel and a pick and a pan as well. But the design is horrid. The font, I could get behind where it says the Klondike and Yukon. I could get behind it because it's sort of, it's sort of retro and you could kind of make it work. But in general, that terrible design on the left just detracts from all of it. The Yukon is a beautiful place. They could do so much better. All right, I'm going to quickly go through all the ones I thought were the worst, although you probably already know because they spoke about all of them pretty extensively. So here we go. Mississippi. I hate the state seal. The color in the background is disgusting as well. Like I said, it looks like pee, like really dehydrated pee. Vermont, weird compartmentalization. It doesn't work. Virginia, they say Virginia 3 times on here and they don't make it work any of the times. Maybe in the top it could work. The top one, leave that one. Get rid of the other text and put something else in the background of the bottom or something. I don't like Virginia is for lovers with the copyright symbol there or trademarked or whatever. And then I don't like the website either. Virginia can do a lot better. Like I said, New Brunswick, it looks like it looks like a 15-year-old like cheap web design. I don't know. It looks bad. The text is small. I don't like it. Come Home. It's just overpowering. Like I don't think Come Home should be bigger than Newfoundland and Labrador itself. That was a ridiculous choice. The colors also don't work. I don't like red on top of turquoise like that at the top. The whale was a good thought, but poorly executed too. Nova Scotia, ugly. And then the Yukon, I just talked about this. I don't know who signed off on that. And here are the best license plates from the US and Canada, best standard issue plates as of this year, 2023. Alaska, beautiful. Colorado, classic. Idaho, amazing design gradient, good placement of the nickname, but not having to like reinforce the potato thing with more and more potatoes. Idaho is scenic and they displayed that well, and great color combinations. Simple, Michigan. This reminds me of a plate I think California made, but I don't think it's not one of their standard plates, so I can't count it. But this is one of the standard issue Michigan plates, and it's great. Dark blue plate with bright yellow text. It's a water and winter wonderland. Minnesota, it would be so much better if there wasn't a .com at the top, but I'm giving it credit because it's one of the only states where it actually makes the website work, where it doesn't have to like repeat the website somewhere else. It integrates it well. It's a clever thought, and they were able to retain the same design that has been in place for the past 50 plus years. The Minnesota license plate has really not changed for at least 50 years. And so for that, I give it a lot of credit that they were able to, in their eyes, modernize it, but not throw out the old design. I like the landscape. I like the simple colors. The black text on the white middle background works very well, and I love the outline of the state in the middle. In a lot of license plates, the outline of the state is really small and it's hard to see, but in this case, it's big enough. And at the bottom, it just says 10,000 lakes. They don't need to say land of 10,000 lakes. They made it simple. They just said 10,000 lakes. And I do like the serif fonts, so that's why I like this one too. And Nevada is good because it stands out on the road. Good colors. New Mexico might be the best though. I love the symbol in the middle. I love the text that says New Mexico, USA. I love the color, the turquoise in the background. The nickname at the top is amazing. The land of enchantment. New Mexico is enchanting. It's almost like a different country, honestly. If you go to New Mexico, it feels like a different country. It feels like you're in a dream. Not necessarily in a good way all the time, like a nightmare in some place, like in Albuquerque. Oh my gosh. That's a nightmare place. But it feels like a dream regardless. And in some, it is a beautiful state, great scenery. And then again, I like the chilies with the black background. North Dakota, watercolor sunset, it works well. The brown in the text of North Dakota matches the brown in the buffalo. And they found a place still for the nickname at the bottom left, which is good. Oregon, simple. I would rather have a little bit of a different color combination. I don't like how green the green is. Like maybe if they made it a little darker, a little more blue-green or something, but then also made the colors in the background a little different, or maybe the text of the word Oregon a little different. it would be a little better, but in general, great design. South Carolina, great design, harkens back to their flag, the state flag with the crescent and the palm. Tennessee, I like it. It looks classic. It does, and I like the red, white, and blue. It's very easy to read. Just a flat fill in the background. This is one of the best ones in the country. It's a beautiful license plate. Great font at the top and the bottom. They got the state name and the slogan or whatever at the bottom, and they've got a beautiful image of one of the most iconic landmarks in Utah and even the country. So they did a good job. Manitoba, I like it. I do think the middle is a little empty, but I think it's friendly. I think it's a friendly look. It's friendly Manitoba, so it makes sense. So anyways, I like it. I like seeing these on the roads. I think they could consolidate some of the colors so there's not as many colors, but overall it's okay. Simple Quebec French. They've got their French in. It's like imposing almost. It's kind of intimidating, just like the French, but or the Quebecian French, whatever they're called. Yeah, sort of mean, but it's solid. They don't need to try to be. They don't need to try to do floof and fluff and fleef and whatever. They just got basic, good, and then beautiful. I'm giving this credit because it's a non-traditional shape. The polar bear from the Northwest Territories of Canada, and I like the polar bear here with the Northern Lights. The colors are unlike any colors used in any other plates. That purple and the pink, it is beautiful, very different. So that wraps up this little thing. Let me know what you thought about all these plates. I hope it wasn't too mean or harsh on any of these plates. Although we probably should be a little meaner because technically we're all paying for these. For this, it's a public enterprise, so we probably should be judging license plates more harshly because there's a lot of money that goes into them. So why not make them good? Anyways, that's your review of all the U.S. and Canadian license plates. As of 2023, these are the standard issue plates. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys next time.